remains were discovered 10 miles from her car. Her remains were discovered 10 miles from her car. The calls were meticulously scheduled for 4 years. The stalker called and claimed responsibility for her death. The stalker called and claimed responsibility for her death. Her car was found on fire. A little time had passed. Her co-workers and family became worried and called the police. What followed was a search for Scott's car, which reached a horrifying end. After several hours of searching, police came across the vehicle, which was engulfed in flames. It was 10 miles away in Santa Ana, but there was no sign of an accident, and no sign of Scott herself, either. Hope surged that she might not have been killed in the blaze, but as she continued to stay missing, her family began to worry. They were told not to contact the news or media about the disappearance during the investigation, and they simply waited for any word. Before long, they would have even greater reason to fear for Scott's safety. A black widow spider brought Scott to the place of her death. Things went bad by chance when Scott noticed that one of her co-workers was acting a little strange. On May 28, 1980, Scott noticed that a fellow worker, Conrad Bostrom, was fidgeting and seeming to be in pain, and his arm looked strange. Eventually, she convinced him to go to the emergency room, suspecting something was amiss, and asked another worker, Hamhead, to go with them. When they got to the hospital, they'd found that Bostrom had been bitten by a black widow spider, and the bite had become infected. Luckily for Bostrom, he was treated in a timely fashion and was on the mend. Scott told Head and Bostrom she'd go pull the car around for them, and they waited for her. And waited. And waited. At last, her car came into view, but it was speeding by, showed no signs or stopping. Without warning, it sped out of the parking lot and into the night, leaving her co-workers standing by the hospital, confused. It was the last time any of them would see her alive. Scott was so afraid of the caller that she considered buying a gun. The phone calls became so serious and terrifying that Scott began to fear for her life. At one point, the caller told her, "When I get you alone, I will cut you up into bits so no one will ever find you." The caller also told her what she was wearing that day, and this shook Scott to the core. She began to take self-defense classes and karate in order to prepare herself for a possible attack. On top of that, she considered buying a handgun for self-defense, but eventually decided against it. She had a 4-year-old son, Sean, whom she was afraid would accidentally harm himself, so she ultimately never bought the gun. She also worked closely with a hippie community and was much more of a peace-loving woman than a gun-toting one. Given what happened later, it seems as though she may have needed it after all. The killer stalked Scott significantly before her murder. It all started with a few weird phone calls. Several months before Scott went missing in the year 1980, her phone started to ring frequently with random calls, and a person on the other end would tell her horrifying and threatening things. The other person seemed to know her schedule and her every move, and swung wildly between being friendly, though a little obsessive, to violent and angry. It quickly became clear that Scott had a very devoted stalker. Terrifyingly enough, Scott once said the voice sounded like someone she knew. However, they never revealed their name or location, and Scott never identified them to anyone else. Unfortunately, she'd never get the chance to reveal the mystery of who her stalker was, and no one else would either.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care, bye.